Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the 7 Minutes Podcast, the podcast of 7 minutes or more where we talk about video games.
For at least 7 minutes.
Yeah, I think 7 minutes or more covers that, but why MMV?
Reiterating.
I am, as usual, Zack.
I'm Angie. I'm Angela.
I am Robert. Not having an identity crisis, unlike someone at the table, apparently.
We are off to just a real kicking start.
Sorry. I prefer to go by Angela professionally and pretty much any time I'm not talking to my family. So it was a Freudian slip.
Very good. Very good. Today,
this time, we're joined by Robert again.
That's right.
Yeah, haven't been blacklisted this time.
You weren't blacklisted last time.
Yeah, all right.
You just failed to show up. You failed to arrive.
Jury's out on that one.
Failed to make time for us. That's fine.
Robert's got a job that only operates during primo recording hours. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. Have I mentioned I'm teaching game design on the podcast yet?
Probably.
I couldn't tell you.
I can't remember. In case it has not been said, I'm teaching game design at my alma mater. Mater?
Oh, that's a good sign.
I'm teaching at that school I went to. Talking games.
I mean, at least you're not teaching Latin, right?
But, yeah, right now I'm teaching Game Design 1, which is all board game mechanics. Mm-hmm. And then next semester I get to teach Game Design 2, where we move into making video games. So that's been keeping me busy. I'll be even later, I think, next semester. I think the class goes from like 7 to 10 at night. But, yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Those gamers do tend to be night owl types.
Mm-hmm.
So, fair enough. Robert, I don't know if you know this. We recorded episode 17 without you.
Yeah, I'm well aware of it.
And we talked about The Witcher when we did. Specifically Witcher 3. We did dabble slightly with Witcher 1 and 2. Mostly we talked about Witcher 3. Because we knew you are uncultured and don't really know that much about The Witcher. We thought it'd be a good...
That game sucks.
Good top. See?
It doesn't.
My name is Geralt. Big deal.
But, you know, this time, as last time, we kicked it off by talking about what we've been playing. Mm-hmm. Angela, you may also know as Angie...
Gee, I wonder if she's going to mention Animal Crossing and Mario Kart Tour.
Well, I'm sure she will. But last time she also mentioned Metroid Dread, and we lamented that you weren't there to talk about Metroid Dread, because we know you played a lot of it, enough to write a review, and we have just been bracing since the last time we recorded to hear you gush over it. So why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yes, I played Metroid Dread. I reviewed it for Nintendo Dojo. You can go check it out there. But I thought it was really good. It's better than Metroid Samus Returns on 3DS, which was already really great. So my takeaways were... So Sakamoto.
There you go.
He has been dabbling with this sort of like modified 2D gameplay since Metroid Other M. So Other M, the narrative sucked, but I'll give that game this much. It introduced a physicality to Samus's like move suite and attacks that never existed before. Primarily this like sort of parrying attack that she does, like it's an actual melee. So that melee has remained since Other M, and it's just been kind of built on and improved here. And then Samus Returns introduced something called Aeon abilities, and they're just like these sort of extra powers that Samus has. And in this case, it's represented in like a dash and a midair dash that she can do. And she can also go all Predator and turn invisible. So that plays really well with the cat and mouse sections with the Emmy robots that chase her around.
Can you like only be invisible when you're stationary?
No, you can actually move invisible, but the trade-off is that as you start moving, it really starts to drain the Aeon, and it goes rapidly through the Aeon and then into your health. So you can easily kill yourself by accident if you're not watching it carefully.
Is Aeon just like goofy sci-fi energy name?
Yes.
Okay.
And so all that was really good. The actual shooting and everything is handled really well. Someone at the table,
It's me.
had lots to say about the analog movement and aiming. I had no problem with it myself.
I didn't claim you did.
I think that a D-pad is best for like a 2D game, but the way Samus aims in this one, she can shoot in an arc all around herself. Like she can shoot 360 degrees around her body. And so that's much more easily facilitated by using the analog stick. And so all of that, like the nuts and bolts, the physical movement of Samus is great. The powers are great. And then in terms of like storyline, so Samus Returns was a remake of the Game Boy Samus, or a Metroid game. And so, it's not like there was a ton of story to play with anyway, but I don't want to say it was a gimme for Sakamoto, but after butchering Samus's character in Other M, it was refreshing to see him give us a proper version of her in that game. So I was still a little hesitant with this one because I'm like, all right, he's going to swing again, going to the plate to try to do another good Metroid game, and he succeeded. Her characterization's perfect. I actually thought the narrative was pretty interesting, and there's a cool twist at the end. Has enough time passed that we can discuss the twist or no?
No.
Okay.
Speaking selfishly.
Oh, I see. Someone's still working on it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, there's a cool twist at the end. And, we'll discuss it more in a future episode, but just really well handled. And it looks beautiful.
So, yeah, as Robert alluded to, I just have like a personal blocker for playing 2D games with anything other than a D-pad. It just does not feel good in my hands. So that has been dissuading me from picking up the game. But that's a personal note. The one other thing that I've heard from some quarters about Dread that gives me not pause exactly, but Robert, I'm curious how you felt about how not quite hand-holdy the game is, but how I've heard this game is more aggressive in how it uses like subtle design cues to funnel you in particular directions, so you don't really have the feeling of getting lost or not being sure where to go, which is part of like the appeal or atmosphere of like Super Metroid or Metroid 1.
I don't know. I mean,
and that's not to say there's anything wrong with one approach versus the other, but like for me that is part of what makes Super Metroid feel like Super Metroid.
I think that of all the elements of the Metroid formula, that's the one I care the least about. Because, like, I enjoyed Metroid Fusion, and I think Metroid Fusion is much more in your face about directing you from point A to B.
Compared to Dread.
I'd say Fusion's probably still the king of that.
Mm-hmm.
Dread actually gives you a little bit of a reason for why Samus is directed the way that she is, which is part of the twist at the end. But regardless of that, I mean, Breath of the Wild kind of shows you can still do a game where you're just kind of dropped into the game world with like not a ton of direction and you can just find your own way. For whatever reason, Nintendo has shied away from doing that for Samus and the Metroid games. But that said, I didn't really think it was that directed. I didn't think it was super hand-holdy myself. It definitely, you know where you need to go, but nothing's stopping you from exploring. And I would say that the discovery of the one-hit kill of Kraid that you can do shows you that there's a little bit more leeway that I think people are giving credit to the game for. Because when you fight Kraid, it's not a spoiler to say Kraid's in the game, it's in the marketing, but when you fight Kraid and you're doing it the, quote, proper way or the directed way, you don't have the Morph Ball Bomb. But if you explore a little bit before getting to Kraid, you can actually get the Morph Ball Bomb early, and then when you're fighting Kraid, you get sucked into his belly or actually you get shot into his belly, you set off a bomb, and then he's dead. So that to me demonstrates that you're able to explore and that it's maybe not quite as linear as people think, maybe at least in terms of the power-ups. So I don't know. I'm not saying those people are wrong. I just didn't really think it was the worst.
I guess it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of taste, I think, right? But it's not even like whether there's sequence breaks. It's how, like, the certainty of where to go, I think, does change the feeling of these games. Whether that's good or bad is a matter of personal taste.
Well, beyond Metroid, I've been playing the N64 games for the Switch Online expansion pack. So that's gotten a lot of talk because it's kind of iffy emulation. So I think some of the complaints are a little overblown, but I've definitely run into stuff. I think that Ocarina feels I think there's some input lag. It's small.
That's been documented. Apparently, even the Wii U version of the Virtual Console had some input lag, but I hear this one's worse.
Yeah, it has to be worse because I've played Ocarina obsessively since it came out. So like I've played every version. I noticed it in this one, and if I'm noticing it, then that means it's pronounced. But that said, it's definitely not unplayable, but it is a little bit, of a hindrance. I also think that it's somewhat stuttery. It just doesn't feel as smooth as it could be.
Isn't that true of Ocarina itself? Always seemed like it would have benefited from a higher frame rate than it has.
I guess so. I just think that compared to other versions of it, this one feels especially kind of stuttery. Not like, and when I say this, I'm talking it's small. So I think if you're somebody who's been playing Ocarina since '98, you will notice it more than anyone. If you've never played Ocarina of Time, I think you'll probably enter the game and be fine. You might notice it, but maybe not as much. Series veterans, though, they're probably going to be bugged. And then the same can kind of be said for all of the games in the N64 collection. There are little just things that are off or strange. One thing I don't understand is Nintendo won't let you map the buttons for Nintendo Switch Online. So the controller, whatever the configuration is what it is. And you would just think...
Which is fine for Super Nintendo, right? Because of how similar that is to modern control layouts. But like the N64 is so weird.
It's very odd, and it's just like, this is 10 seconds of, like, programming, you would think. I mean, it's just the buttons on the controller. Like, what harm is there in letting players just decide that? Now, I do think that, for the most part, the buttons work fine, but, and the one particularly strong example to me was Sin and Punishment. I actually think that's mapped really intelligently. But it's just like, that is a level of player freedom that, to me, it's insane to restrict. Like, just let people do it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. That's like, I can't stand the it's not a wallpaper, but there's this odd dotted edge going on with the screen. So like the aspect ratio on all of the Nintendo Switch Online games is made to look like an old tube TV. So whatever that, I always forget what that aspect ratio is. So it's not widescreen. So the sides of the screen, I personally prefer in a game like that where they've cut out, the square in the middle. I want it all black on the sides.
Just don't draw attention to it. Right?
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to see anything. Just make it black. And instead, there's this odd, like, again, it's these like kind of dots or whatever that's part black and then it goes into gray or whatever. I'm like, why does that need to be there? Why can't I turn it off? The same as the menu prompts, like how to access the menu for Switch Online. I'm like, let me turn these things off. It's like, you're making us pay $50 a year, and I don't have these basic interface choices. Like, that is stupid.
So if you could go back in time, would you not pay for the Switch Online expansion?
Oh no, I'd pay instantly.
So what?
Zach already knew the answer.
So what exactly is Nintendo's incentive to cater to the Joker who already gave them his money?
I mean, it's, to me, these are small gripes. Like, I'm having fun playing the games. It's like they're just imperfect. I think the emulation part of it might be enough to turn some people away. I mean, you're hearing a lot of complaining about it online. My complaints about the UI kind of stuff I don't know how much people talk about that on the internet, but to me, it's like, bring those changes. It's like, even if it takes, Nintendo Switch Online has been around for a while. Now we're getting these N64 and Genesis games. Upgrade it. It's like, just do whatever you have to do, implement it, let's move on. But Nintendo's never been that way. They're just so strange. It's like with the Wii U, I believe. If I'm remembering correctly, I think the 3DS eShop eventually made it so that you could store your credit card information, and then you had, I think you could put a PIN in. And then I think when you got to the Wii U, you have the whole same setup. Here's the eShop. You can store your credit card information, and I don't think you could put a PIN. And I'm just like, the same people made all this crap. Like, who didn't think the PIN on the 3DS eShop wouldn't be useful in the Wii U eShop? And same thing on the Switch.
I would say it's unlikely that the same people made all of those things.
Well, I mean, still, it's like, come on, man. It's all the same company. It's like, this should just be like, hey, that thing you made there, let's do it here, carry over all the same features. Like,
look, man, you know how big companies like that are? It's so big. Even like your family, the way some person in your family makes a dish is not going to be the way somebody else in your family makes a dish.
Well, it's not unreasonable, though, to look at the aspects of the eShop that made sense in one version, and then when you're going to create the eShop on the next platform, take the aspects that make the most sense and are most user-friendly and recreate that.
I definitely agree.
It doesn't matter that it could be an entirely different set of people. You take what worked in the past. I mean, this is even where like surveys are useful. UX kind of surveys for existing users and say, what do you like about the eShop? What do you not like about the eShop? And then implement the things that are really popular and then reconsider the things that maybe aren't.
Yeah, you can even just like look at what your competitors are doing, right? Because
Yes.
all the times Nintendo has seemed like they're behind the times with when like online infrastructure or services. Like, it's not like they don't know about PlayStation and Xbox.
Well, to me, like, it's also a matter of just like when certain standards are set, like having a PIN to access your payment information seems like kind of basic, like customer service sort of stuff. Switch Online, I'm just like, you've seen how retro games are done in all these different compilations now. It's like, they've got the different filters you can put on the screen, button mapping, all these things. Nintendo's like, well, you can rewind. It's like, okay, that's like the least important thing to me right now, but you go ahead and do rewind and give me none of the other stuff. Like,
yeah, implementing key ZSNES features from 1998.
It's just so odd. But anyway, that's...
Look, bottom line, they don't have to change because their customer base will just keep on buying it regardless. They'll just complain and Nintendo will ignore the complaints.
Yeah, and then I guess the last thing in terms of what I've been playing, new Mario Party came out. Really fun. Thank God they got rid of the need to use the Joy-Con as a controller. You can use any controller that you have to play the game. WarioWare also came out not that long ago, and that is also super fun. So a lot of good games have been coming out from Nintendo the past, few weeks. So they've been keeping me busy. And then I've randomly been playing Pokemon Sword. I'm hoping to get it done before Diamond and Pearl come out.
All right.
Yep, so that's me.
Was playing Metroid. I actually have kind of dropped off of some games because I haven't had a very good work-life balance in the past week. But that aside, Metroid has been actually really fun. It just feels really intuitive, even though, backtracking is a necessity, and I think you are intentionally supposed to feel lost and get lost at times. It doesn't feel frustrating. And a couple of the boss fights that I've had so far have been really fun. So I've been liking Metroid Dread a lot. And then we've been playing Mario Party with Robert. It's actually been really nostalgic because there are these mini games from Mario Party 2, and I think Mario Party 3.
This is like the WarioWare Gold of Mario Parties, where they're like taking the mini games from previous ones and rolling them together.
And boards. Some of the really popular ones. And I had forgotten about a lot of these games, a lot of these boards, the interesting mechanics on some of the boards. So it's actually been really fun. And I hadn't played Mario Party in a little while. We have the one that came out specifically on the Switch. I can't remember what that one's called, but so it's been a little while since I had played Mario Party, but it's really fun. I think there might be, well, the time we're recording this, it's only a couple of days now until the Animal Crossing New Horizons update goes live, 2.0. Thinking about maybe taking Friday off from work so I can play it. But yeah, really looking forward to that. And I would like to get back into Final Fantasy XIV. Like, I know I am likely not going to get through Stormblood and Shadowbringers before Endwalker comes out, but I do want to hop back into that. Mm-hmm. And yes, I have been playing Animal Crossing and Mario Kart on my phone. Currently, yesterday, Zach's making lots of faces. Yesterday, the team rally went live in Mario Kart for Team Toad versus Team Toadette. And I was going to be on Team Toad, but all of the Shy Guys are on Team Toadette.
I don't care for this Splatoon nonsense.
Well, get over it, because it's not the first time they've done it. I was on Team Mario when they did Team Mario versus Team Peach. But, yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
All right. And I have been celebrating my Italian heritage by playing the Ezio Collection, which is Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. I've only just started Revelations, but it's still a lot of Ezio. These are the Assassin's Creed games that take place in Italy, and then Revelations takes place in Turkey. It's been interesting. These ones, I know this is nowhere near the first Assassin's Creed game I've played. I think Revelations is number 10 for me, but Ezio is kind of held up by Assassin's Creed players as like the best protagonist. The time of Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood is seen as like the golden age before people got disappointed by certain decisions that Ubisoft was making with the series. So I was definitely I was hoping for a lot from these games, even though I didn't particularly I'm not super drawn to the Italian Renaissance time period and setting. And I've been a little underwhelmed by the character of Ezio, who is like the fan favorite character in the franchise. He just doesn't actually seem as interesting or as charismatic as I thought he was going to be.
You know, I've sat and watched so much of these games now, to my chagrin. Just so many Assassin's Creed games now. And I do have to admit, I don't think Ezio is very compelling. Part of it is I don't really think his voice actor is very great. I think it could be better. Especially too because, well, this is a problem I have generally speaking with the Assassin's Creed games, is that they're set in all these different places in the world, all these different times in the world, but everybody's speaking English, but they have everybody speaking English with a particular accent, so an Italian accent, a Greek accent, and it always sounds fake. Like Robert and I, our maternal grandmother is Italian, born and raised, and not every Italian with an accent sounds the same, but the Italians that are speaking in Assassin's Creed in English with Italian accents sound kind of fake.
I feel like it's a legacy of just video games simply have not caught up in terms of storytelling with movies or television. And there's some examples where it's like really close or really good, like The Last of Us or Uncharted. And there's other examples, but if you stand around a GameStop and watch some of the trailers on GameStop TV and you listen to the voice acting, it's just so cringeworthy. It's like there's a trailer for Call of Duty Vanguard right now. And one of the lines is this person saying, "This battle, it matters." And it's just like, no one talks like this. It's like, it's cringeworthy. And like, it extends to some of the stuff like with the voice acting and like picking who's going to sound a certain way. It's like, I don't know, maybe a lack of research, but like, it's always like the bar is lower for games. And people are like, oh yeah, this is really great storytelling. And then you watch it and you're just like, this isn't even as good as like a TV movie.
Yeah, I don't really know if I agree with that. I think there are like stylistic decisions, which probably goes into this Vanguard thing you're talking about. But like, there's like kind of a house style built into how those trailers are cut and a house style built into how those games are made, in the case of like, say Ezio's voice or some of the other voices in these games, these are like earlier PS3 era games. And yeah, there are going to be differences between that and like the quality that you get in like the later Naughty Dog productions that just use Troy Baker and Nolan North for everything.
Well, I mean, I was like specifically thinking too of Odyssey and how just so much of the voice acting of these, I mean, they're supposed to be Greeks, speaking English with Greek accents. Like, I do not doubt that. I think the two protagonists you can play as, either the man or the woman, I believe they are Greek in real life. But unless you have like a natural accent or can fake an accent, a very believable one, you could kind of tell listening like some of these people are faking an accent, and it can kind of take me out of the immersion. Not really a big fan of that word, but it just kind of takes me out of it a little bit. Like when I'm sitting and watching you play, and I'm just like, yeah, that's definitely just a voice actor doing a kind of okay Greek accent.
Look, something like Odyssey is going to have the difficulty of having just so much dialogue to record, and that probably they're less able, compared to a movie, they're less able to like take another take, get it right, like step in to coach the actor, do stuff like that.
We talked a little bit about this when we talked about The Witcher 3, but The Witcher 3 has an uncommonly impressive set of voice actors. Even just like little NPCs are very well done. But then you have the kind of the ones on the fringe that are a bit inexplicable to me, like, Triss or Dandelion or whatever, that are just very bad. So I don't know. I mean, I just find it a little bit odd when these like AAA studios have voice work done, and somewhat to Robert's point, like you watch enough movies, even like TV productions or whatever, or shows, and you can hear believable delivery of lines. And I feel like video games still have a way to go in terms of catching up and having voice actors deliver lines naturally and do it well.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. Honestly, I really don't. Like, obviously they're spotty, but like honestly, TV and movies are spotty too. I mean, I'm sure we'd have no trouble picking out like line readings from Game of Thrones or whatever CW show or various like Marvel movies that also have like extremely
let's
awkward.
Not insult a game by comparing it to a CW show.
Right? But like,
well, video games have other things going on too, because like there's cultural differences. Like Metal Gear Solid, like those games are like oddball and like really, like in many ways they are impressive, but they're also super quirky. But the voice acting is still really well done, but there's something just undeniably Japanese / Kojima about them. So like there are some games that are like that, but like some of the stuff like like from like Ubisoft, like the Assassin's Creed games, like I just feel like it's striving for something and not accomplishing the goal. Like it's trying to be like a super serious production, but then also trying to be like a game. And I don't know. I just don't know what it is. It doesn't work for me. And I get that from quite a few different games. And like to Angela's point, when you can tell someone's forcing an accent, that's like, we've mentioned this before, but we're both also, we're Mexican. And man, anytime I see like a Hispanic actor on TV, they almost always force them. You have to have some kind of Hispanic sounding accent going on. And you can tell when it's a Hispanic actor, when they're faking it. And it's just like, why can't we just talk? Like, how come the accent has to be this way? And like, it just kills it for you sometimes when you're watching. Just
is it not possible that some of them do actually have accents that you think are goofy?
Well, some people have them, and you can tell they're forcing them to be more exaggerated than they are. And it's like, I don't know if it's just a matter of like where you're from or what culture you come from, but like, as someone who's Mexican, like, I can just tell. Like, you can hear it. Because, like, you have cousins and you have family and they all speak Spanish, and there's a certain way that you talk when you have the accent. And then you watch a TV show and it's like, that person's totally forcing it. Or, like, they probably have an accent, but it's mild, but they got to ham it up because the director's telling them, well, they're not going to know you're Latino if you don't do it this way. And, oh, man.
I feel like we interrupted you, though. Or I interrupted you.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Assassin's Creed, I really don't think the voices are that bad. Obviously, I think where the inconsistencies come out, I think it's probably more due to the writing than the performances, especially for the newer games like Odyssey. Mm-hmm. Which is not to say they're completely consistent. I do think there are inconsistencies in how the accents come out. Fortunately, in the case of Assassin's Creed, there's an in-universe explanation for why the accents or any other thing about the game worlds are weird, which is that it's all a simulation. Mm-hmm. And it's like an imperfect simulation based on the memories of the person reliving them, just like the nature of how the animus works. So maybe Desmond Miles just has a real poor grasp on what Italian accents sound like. And that's what's going on. I do want to say, I do think, even though I don't like Ezio all that much, I do think that Assassin's Creed 2 in particular has a real kind of crazy energy to it. All the stuff with Animus and the Templars and the Assassins was all set up in the first game, but the second game adds this really strong conspiracy theory element to it. There's like a dead man who has left memories embedded in the animus that Desmond keeps running into when he's going through Florence and Venice. And there's just a crazy like X-Files conspiracy stuff going on. It's just like going hand over fist to try and one up the Da Vinci Code and every other kind of like history spanning national treasure piece of nonsense media that has come out. So that had like an energy to it that was really cool, even though I found found Ezio's arc a little underwhelming. Brotherhood was a little more boring. That might just be because it kind of feels like a filler arc for Ezio. But Revelations, where he's an older man, he's like in his 50s, which is a little unusual for a video game action protagonist. That's been better so far, but I'm not that far in it, and I can't really speak more on it. I do like that it's in Constantinople, which is not something I've ever seen before in a game. It's like really like cool setting, mishmash of Byzantine and Ottoman culture and et cetera, et cetera. This might have been our longest What Have You Been Playing segment we've ever done.
Well, there was a lot of ground to cover. It was necessary.
Sure. What we have gathered to discuss today is Sony's least popular home console, worst selling, the obscure, lesser known PlayStation 3, which came out 15 years ago in November 2006. So as we've done in the past when we've talked about video game consoles, let's start with how everyone came across the PlayStation 3.
Oh, my introduction to it was legendary. So that was my first non-Nintendo home console. Now, I had a PlayStation Portable. Ironically, in a haphazard way, it came from the same person who gave me the PS3. So the Portable I got technically from my uncle, who had gotten me an iPod video. This is how long ago it was. An iPod video for graduating high school. But I didn't have the means to really like download and put stuff on it. So I returned it and used the money to get a PSP. So the same uncle, for Christmas one year, we're at my grandma's house, and we're all opening gifts, and randomly, I open up this box, and it's a PS3. It's the fat, the original model PS3.
The grill.
Yep. And I remember feeling so guilty because I don't remember what he got my cousins and my sister, but I'm the only one who got a game console. I got this random PS3. And I just felt guilty because I looked over at my cousin. I'm just like, I didn't ask for the PS3.
Hey,
I don't know why I'm the chosen one.
You're the eldest. It's your birthright.
So, yeah, that's how I got a PlayStation 3. And, like that, man, that thing felt so futuristic when I had it. Like, granted, PS3 ended up becoming the less loved between it and the 360, but it still felt like quite the engineering marvel.
I didn't play it very much when it came out. In November of 2006, it would have been a month before I turned 16, so I was in high school. But I was definitely more focused on Nintendo consoles, GameCube, Wii. My DS is multiple DSs, but
you guys grew up together, so Robert's PS3 was like your PS3 or the one you were...
If I had wanted to play it, yeah. But I really just considered it more just kind of solely Robert's. Like, I never played the PSP.
I'm actually having a little trouble remembering where it was set up. I mean...
Yeah, I don't really remember either, but...
Our listeners are going to want to know, Robert. They're going to want to know where it was set up.
Well, I'm just trying to think of the logistics because, Angela didn't play it as much, but, like, I'm trying to think of where I had it. Because our house is set up where there's, like, a mother-in-law unit in the back, and that's where I live. And so I guess it would have been out there, and she would have been in her room, so it would have been separate.
And it wasn't until... I think it wasn't until I moved out of the house, something like 6 years ago or whatever, Robert let me have his one of his other PS3s. It wasn't like the super slim, but I guess the slim.
It was the second model, the first slim.
Yeah. And I actually ended up getting some pretty good use out of that, which we'll get into later. But so I didn't really actually put more time into the PS3 until many years after it had already been out, and actually the PS4 was already out. So,
do both of you remember what your first game was?
I don't remember what my first game was. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of remember going to GameStop after it probably was Christmas. It was the day after Christmas, and using gift cards. I think I got Uncharted. Resident Evil 5, probably. Like, keep in mind, when I say I got this PS3, it wasn't at launch. Like, I didn't get it at launch. It was after. And so games were already, you can get them at GameStop pretty cheaply. But I'm almost positive the first Uncharted was one of the games I got for it.
And you also mentioned that for you, the 360 kind of ended up overshadowing the PS3?
Well, I think it did for most people because I think towards the end, sales probably started to get close. I don't know if they ever evened out, but 360 was the winner between those two consoles.
At first, at least. But for you, did you...
Oh, well, I don't know. I had a friend, Daniel, from high school who sold me an Xbox 360 of his, and it red ringed like almost the next day. And I think he knew it was red ringing, but I had given him half because I was kind of broke. I was like, I can give you half now, and then when we get paid, I'll give you the other half. And then it red ringed. And I was like, he knew it red ringed, so I ended up trading it in. And then I went a long time without one. And finally, my friends got together, and they worked at a GameStop, and it was my buddy Phil and Justin and maybe a couple other people. But I just remember Phil came to my house, and he handed me this box with the red Resident Evil 360 in it, and was like, here, we want you to play Call of Duty with us. We're tired of you not having an Xbox. So I got a lot of miles out of the Xbox because I was playing like Call of Duty with my friends. But in terms of like the single player stuff, I think I was definitely playing a lot of those kind of games on my PS3.
Okay. For me, I definitely had a 360 first. I think I had both a 360 and then a Wii before I had a PS3. And a lot of the like multi-platform games of that generation I ended up getting on the 360 just because a little bit of inertia. And when I did get a PS3, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's because my ex wanted to play, like, obviously it was a video game system, so I had some interest in it anyhow. But my ex wanted to play Little Big Planet. I think that's why. Because it featured, at least the first Little Big Planet featured Stephen Fry as a narrator, and she was really into Stephen Fry. He's a very charming British.
That was one of the other games I got.
Okay.
Right away was Little Big Planet.
And that was actually another game that I had trouble enjoying because you couldn't control it with a D-pad. 2D game, you can't control the D-pad. There's no excuse. I can't deal with it.
I didn't like the feel of Little Big Planet.
He couldn't move his arms otherwise.
Why does he have to move his arms?
Why doesn't he have to move his arms? It's part of the charm.
Yeah, well, it doesn't outweigh the issue that I have with not being able to use a D-pad to control a 2D platformer. Anyhow, as for me and like the games that I bought, the first one that I remember getting for the PS3, this wouldn't have been right away, so I don't know if this is actually the first one, but it's Demon Souls. That's the first one I really remember getting for the PS3, at least that I kept on the PS3 and really dove into. I got tipped off to the existence of Demon Souls by just some random internet message board that was going crazy over this weird game from Asia. And they were like importing the Asian version because the Asian, the version that you'd pick up in like Singapore or whatever was in English and would play on a PS3. I did not jump in that early. I waited until it came out in the US. But although I definitely had more games on the 360 at the time, I poured a really disproportionate number of hours into Demon's Souls. So that's like, of the games on the PS3, certainly the exclusives on the PS3 that I played during the era, that's the one that stands out the most.
For me, this was not my first PS3 game, but it was the first PS3 game that I was personally interested in and I bought, and I think is only one of only 2 PS3 games I personally own. And that was Alice Madness Returns. Never played, American McGee's Alice on PC. I don't even remember how I became aware of Madness Returns, but it just looked really interesting. And it had that kind of like creepy, macabre thing that I kind of like. And so I gave it a shot, and I loved that game. I've actually been wanting to play that game recently. I just have been in the mood. But
you just fire up your Xbox. I think it's on Game Pass.
It's on both systems, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is. Or, I could just fire up the PS3 that Robert gave me and just I think Robert has my copy. But anyway.
Hey, I have my own copy, thank you. I don't know where yours is.
Maybe I have it, but
you have to dig.
Yeah,
and get mine from my cold dead fingers.
Yeah, I don't know, but regardless, that game was really, really fun. Very there's some story elements that are kind of disturbing, a little creepy. I mean, it's the point, but it's a very interesting game visually. And I actually loved it so much that sometime after the game came out, there were these like official, very limited run of these like original prints of artwork from the game. I think it was either only 300 or 3,000. I think it might be 300 that were ever produced. But original prints, like not signed, but hand numbered on the back. I bought one of those and I went and got it framed, which for me was a really big expense at the time, but got it framed, custom framed with like UV protecting glass. And it's currently sitting in our second bedroom, framed. And it was actually hanging in our It had been hanging in our apartment bedroom, and then when we moved to our house, I have it set up. But yeah, I really love that game.
PS3 is interesting because it was such a was it a failure at launch or just like mocked at launch? Because the Grand Piano PS3, the original version of it, had the Spider-Man 3 font across the top of it, which was odd. And there's the infamous Ridge Racer E3 moment, right? Where what's-his-face comes out and yells Ridge Racer for like 10 minutes. And
I think it was the PS3 also that had like a giant enemy crab in the promo. It was like there was a Genji game that was also featured early on.
And wasn't this thing like $500 or something?
I think there were a couple of different SKUs. There was a $500 one and then the $600 one.
$600
for the 20 and 60 gig models.
$600. Not even the PS5 was $600.
But it was a really good piece of hardware. I ended up wishing that I'd gotten the $600 one because that was the one that had like the PS2 backwards compatibility. I remember when I ended up buying a PS3, and I could probably use this to go back and figure out exactly when I got a PS3. But the 60 gig models were like just being retired. The ones with that backwards compatibility were like only secondhand available at that point.
When I worked at GameStop from 2009 to 2014, we got so many PS3s in trade, but I hated taking in the big fat original models. They were super heavy and they were clunky. And I don't remember anymore. I think we had to go into the system settings, but you had to determine how many gigs is this? Is it backwards compatible with the PS2 or not? And like just so many of my coworkers wouldn't take them in correctly. And then, the different models started coming out. Man, taking in PS3s in trade was not the most simple, not the simplest process.
To answer your question, Robert, I don't think it was a failure. I think it was definitely behind. And it was a year behind the 360, so it was starting from a disadvantage. And then it was also like the Wii ended up being a big success, so that stole some of its thunder too.
Yeah, like that whole era is interesting because it became the Nintendo does its own thing. It's like no, it's the third game maker. It's just it had the weak graphics and the motion controls, but regardless, yeah, like Microsoft did their whole thing where they're like, we're going to be a year before everyone. And, it had the great user interface. And the most important thing was that the online was great. It was just this solid online experience. And I think that by the time you got to PS3, Sony was a little big-headed. Because, like, that console launch felt very self-important. Whereas... And I mean, with good reason, I'm not like just making fun of Sony, because PS1 came out, was a huge hit. That was and like Sega definitely was going toe to toe with Nintendo, but PlayStation came out and was like, yeah, guess who's in charge now? And then PS2 comes out and PS2's like, yeah, we're definitely in charge. We're the captain now. And so 2 incredibly successful consoles in a row, and now Sony's going for the trifecta, and all those things, because Spider-Man 3 was coming out around the time of the PS3's launch, and that was a huge deal. And Sony, of course, made the Spider-Man movies, so they just had all this stuff going on. They're like, oh yeah, here comes our third system. It's going to be the best. And then you get Xbox, which is like, hey, here's ours. It's cheaper, and the online's better. And then Nintendo shows up and is like, here's this thing that's incredibly fun to play. It doesn't matter that it doesn't have HD graphics. And here's Sony, and just they're kind of left, in third place. And just such an odd launch. And I remember that as time went by, it got better though, because like they ditched the Sony the Spider-Man font. They came up with the PS3 logo that has now become the PS4 logo, which is now the PS5 logo. But
can I ask why the Spider-Man logo stands out so much to you?
That was a talking point when it launched.
I'm sure it was a talking point, but it's been 15 years, man.
It stands out. What? It was so odd. Like, there was just... That whole thing felt weird. Like, why does it have the Spidey 3 font? Okay. Why is it the size of a truck?
Look, I know this is the PS3 episode, but I cannot let it pass without comment that you... Did I hear you say you thought that the 360 had a good UI?
Well, let me be fair. I came in late, so I don't know what the first gen UI was like on the 360. But by the time I was using
wasn't great, and the late ones also were not great. Like
they were usable to me.
Oh, okay. Well, you could technically access settings, but they're just like so awkward with like the slowly animated blades that would come out.
I guess.
Like the cross menu bar on the PS3 is so much better. It's probably the single best UI on any home console.
Well, I mean, it's good, but
I was actually going to say I didn't really care for the UI of the PS3. I would, Robert, when he let me have the Slim, I've used. I think actually the thing I've played the most on my PS3 is Final Fantasy VII, and I don't know. I just maybe this is a personal problem, but I just felt like I was getting confused by all of the different icons and then the branching menus from each icon, and just a lot of scrolling. And the sounds are kind of iconic. Like I can hear the sound of the scrolling, the ticking sound of scrolling in my head, and.
Hey, I'm not crapping on the PS3 UI. I liked it.
Yeah, and the background with like the sparkles and the weird, the weird like Coca-Cola looking wave in the middle. But the UI was fun. I mean, it's not like I hated it. It's not like I was like some clown who just couldn't figure out the menu system. I just didn't think it was 100% great.
The 360 UI though. Like I said, I never used the first one. I know that when I finally got my 360, it updated and it was whatever it was at that moment. I came in circa Black Ops, the first Black Ops. So whatever the UI was like at that point, I thought it was totally fun. It wasn't slow or anything. I do think the PS3 UI is iconic and I love it, but I don't know. I think there's a reason that the 360 had the mass appeal that it did.
Yeah, because it came out a year earlier, had a lower price, and had Gears and Halo.
Well, still, I mean, the 360. I mean, there's a reason that Xbox ended up becoming, the force that it was. I mean,
it ain't the 360 UI, man. That go back and try and turn on a 360 and deal with that. It's still not good today. I remember there were times I'd be like, man, I should turn on the.
You're Mr. PC Master Race. You hate everything that you can't just click on with a mouse.
I was just gushing over the PS3 cross menu bar.
I will say, when in comparison, because when we would take in consoles and trade, we'd have to turn them on because then we'd also have to clear the memory. And you'd also have to make sure you even could get into the console, because if it was locked, you just couldn't take it at all in trade. So my experience with the PS3 menu and having to do all that versus the Xbox 360 menu and having to go through all that, the PS3 was definitely more streamlined and simple and easier to figure out. Eventually, I figured out the 360 one because I had to, but I much rather deal with the PS3 UI compared to the 360.
Garish, cluttered, sluggish.
My goodness. I used to love how the PSP and the PS3 had the same UI. I thought that was neat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did you
about cross branding?
Did you cross buy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did Robert, you had a PSP?
Mm-hmm.
Angela?
No.
Robert, did you ever take advantage of the cross buy feature to play a game on both systems? For example, you got like a PS1 Classic.
Oh, yes. The PS1 Classics are the things I took advantage of.
Yeah.
Like, there's some later games, like I think I got Retro City Rampage or something. I have something that is not a PS1 Classic, but oh yeah, when I realized that all of the games on, well, it was the reverse because I had the PSP first.
Mm-hmm.
So the PSP, as soon as I got that console, I was like, I can download all these PS1 games. And so I just was getting, because I never had access to them before. So for me, they were all like either new or something I saw my cousin Dom play. But then when the PS3 came out, I was like, or when I got the PS3, I was like, oh, I'm like, all these games that I bought, I can download on the PS3 now. So I took all those PS1 games and put them on there. To this day, I have my, they're not like true folders, but like I have folders set up on my PS3 where all the PS1 games are separated. Mm-hmm. And then there's like the PSN games. And man, PS3 had a lot of really fun PlayStation Network games. Like Rochard. Oh, that's a good platformer.
Doesn't sound like it.
Wow. Why don't you go play it?
How do you spell it?
Actually, you don't want to play it because it has, I don't think you can use the D-pad.
How do you spell it?
Rochard. So yeah, Rochard was cool. It had like physics-based, like gravity-based physics going on and platforming. There were Explodamon. That was super fun. Of course, this is the era when you got like Mega Man 8, so that was another one I had to have. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was re-released on PS3, and that was super fun to play. There was a ton of awesome PSN games.
Do you mean Mega Man 9?
That's what I meant, yeah, Mega Man 9. 9 and 10.
If I'm remembering correctly, pretty sure I got the Tomb Raider reboot, just Tomb Raider 2013 or whatever, on PS3. And for the most part, I never ended up finishing it because I just kind of, I didn't really find it super compelling all the way through. I liked Lara's redesign. I thought she looked cool, but I just couldn't reconcile her weird, like, she'd have these moments where she's talking to herself and she talks about how scared she is, and she has these moments where she's almost killed or she's almost assaulted or whatever. And, she's sitting at a campfire talking to herself and talking about how traumatized she is. And then immediately you just start killing everyone. And it doesn't really make any sense. And it just kind of got more clownish and stupid.
Ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's one of the big games that jumps out to me when that term comes up.
Yeah, and I mean, the gameplay was fun. The environments were beautiful. It was a beautiful looking game, but ultimately, Lara just kind of became a little insufferable. But I do remember that was another game where I was like, yeah, this actually looks like it could be fun.
I remember mocking, but also being amused by, this is kind of related to what you were saying.
Yeah.
The enemy mooks, like the bad guys in that game.
Yeah.
You kill like 400 of them over the course of the game. And you get, after you're done with like 300 or so, you still have like the little voice clips of them being like, she's just one girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she killed like a small town.
Yeah. And like everyone's getting headshot all around them.
And Robert has mentioned how Uncharted has a little bit of this going on. Not quite the same thing. But he's found it a little unbelievable how many dudes Nathan Drake can take on at once. And but for some reason I don't find that I enjoyed what I played of Uncharted. I think I might have played some of the second. I enjoyed that more. And I think part of it is because Nathan Drake isn't having these emotional monologues to himself about how he's feeling traumatized.
I think that's exactly what it is. Because Drake is confident.
Yeah, he's confident and he jokes and so it's like even if he's taking out some, even for video game standards, crazy number of dudes at one time, he's also not like, oh my god, I almost got killed, and just like all this nonsense.
He's having a heart-to-heart with Sully. I can't believe I just shot like 40 guys.
Yeah, like...
And then turns around and he's like, killing another 40, like it's nothing, and then turns around, oh man, I can't believe I killed another 40 guys.
Yeah, but Uncharted was actually one that I did enjoy. Although one game, I didn't play this on the PS3, but I talked about this in one of our very recent episodes. It is a PS3 game, or it was a PS3 game. Sleeping Dogs. I played the definitive edition on the PS4. That game is so good. I really wish they would remake that game because it would benefit from so many like modern upgrades.
Like visually or gameplay tweaks?
Visually, and also some gameplay tweaks because the combat is a little bit clunky at times. And yeah, but I mean, I had so much fun with that game. Like, I really genuinely liked Sleeping Dogs, and it actually would have been great if they had made a second one, but for sure, one of my favorite PS3 games. I loved that game. So entertaining.
I'm having a really hard time remembering if I got my 360 or the PS3 first. Because I was thinking about how, like, when we were talking about the UI for the Xbox, like, I just took that to that, like, a fish in water. But I think it was because I used it so much because we were constantly playing Call of Duty, so, I had to. But then I'm also trying to think of, like, with the PS3, like, what that learning curve was like with... Because, like, the way you would update games for the PS3 confused me. Like, it wasn't, like, the way it was with the 360.
Yeah,
like, you kind of had to manually do it and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think of the games I played, because I remember Uncharted and thinking that was really cool, although it had a little bit of screen tearing, but it was still awesome. Mind you, I'm playing this on a tube TV, because you could still hook PS3 and 360 up to like a tube TV. So that's how I played those consoles. And even on a tube television, I thought that the games looked incredible. But Metal Gear Solid 4, that was one of the games that I was desperate to play, because I had played Twin Snakes. And man, I don't know I can't remember when I eventually ended up playing like MGS2 and 3, because I got a PS2 later, in life. But I remember wanting to play Metal Gear Solid 4, because that was like just a damn big deal when it launched. And when I finally got to play that game, oh man, I remember being kind of sad when they patched out the kind of weird load screens that you had to deal with. Because later, Kojima went in and they added trophy support, and they got rid of the... It's hard to explain. Like, you would load sections of the game, like they would install onto the system, and you would just sit there waiting, and you're watching Snake standing around smoking. And as you go through each section of the game, you would deal with these long install times. But... man, like, it was worth it. It was worth sitting there and waiting for everything to install. It was just such an incredible, beautiful game, and like felt so dramatic.
It's interesting. This isn't a game I played until much later. But when I went back and played the Yakuza games, 3, 4, and 5 are all on the PS3. You can get them on newer systems now, but when I played them, it was only PS3. Yakuza 4 also has a very memorable install screen, where it's just like you just get like these action shots and like kick and punch stuff that the 4 protagonists are doing, and there's like bios that are flashing, and it's just cycling between them. The installation takes so long that they keep cycling through, and there's this super like get you pumped song playing in the main theme of Yakuza 4 playing in the background, but it's just like such a like weirdly exciting installation process, even though it's completely non-interactive.
It's funny, like, people complain about, wait times for certain things now. It's like, God, how would they deal with Metal Gear Solid 4's, install? like I would just sit there, like, I don't want to give an inaccurate time, but it felt like a very long time for each install.
I think that's considerate for Metal Gear Solid 4, because it's like a warning. Like, if you can't deal with installation screens of this length, you're not going to be happy with the cutscenes in this game.
Yeah, that's right. Like, deal with the scene where there's no talking, and now let's see if you can handle an hour of talking. Yeah. But yeah, I also I thought it was awesome how by the time you got to PS3, you had the wireless DualShocks, and how it was the same damn controller from the PS1 to the PS2 to the PS3, the same design. I wish they still had it.
Similar. It's not quite the same. I remember the PS2 had like the weird decision to have like analog buttons. Do you remember that? Like the analog face buttons? Good riddance. That was a crazy idea. But yeah, I remember actually much preferring the DualShock 4 shape to the DualShock 3 shape.
I think ultimately it probably was a wise idea, but I still like, man, it'd be so cool if like the DualShock 5 was still that same shape.
All right, so here's why that's not acceptable. I mentioned like the big PlayStation 3 game for me at the time was Demon's Souls. Certainly not the only one. I played Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 14, etc. But Demon's Souls, and then Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. Played all those games on the PS3 first. You can't pause those games. All you can do is like set the controller down. And on a PS3 controller, the L2 and R2 buttons, when you set a controller down, are very prone to just activating. It just kind of like, it's heavy enough to like roll slightly. And if you're playing Demon's Souls or Dark Souls, those buttons, the R2 button in particular is mapped to heavy attack, and you can't pause. Often, like when I was setting down a controller, it would be to like, look at my phone or look at a laptop or something to look something up. And I would be in front of an NPC. So I'd set down the controller, and my little DualShock 3 would be like, it'd be fun is if I kind of rolled forward a little bit, and my character would just like, smack this NPC with a greatsword. They wouldn't die, but they would now be my mortal enemy. And like I could kill them or just run away and never come back. And those were my options. The PS4's controller, the DualShock 4, does not have that issue. And therefore, on that basis alone, is the superior controller.
Oh my goodness. I have very fond memories of the DualShock 3 also because Angela worked at GameStop at the time. I can't tell you how many colors I have because of Angela. She'd spot it. Like, they come in pre-owned or even new. She'd text me or call me like, do you have this color? I'd be like, no. So I have like the gold, the black, the red, the pink, the camo. I have the Final Fantasy 13 Lightning or whatever because there's like 3 sequels or whatever. I have the special controller for that. I have so many.
I think I got you the baseball one.
Do I have the baseball?
I swear I thought I got you the baseball one.
Go through them. Like, seriously, it's
gold.
More than any other system. I have some 360 controllers, but
yeah, that was always really fun. You know, we'd get boxes of distro, and so they'd either be they were actually usually pre-owned controllers from wherever, you know, all around the country, and they'd send them to HQ, which was the Rock, and then they'd distribute out all these boxes of, that's what distro was. And so we'd get a bunch of boxes every morning, and I'd open up a box, and there's some, you know, like I remember for some reason I remember the pink pearl one in particular, that one being, because that one was very, that like the one time that we got it and I bought it for Robert was one of the only times we got that color, the gold one. And yeah, and I remember the Final Fantasy one. Just all these cool colors. And yeah, sometimes they'd come in new. And then even sometimes those new colors were desirable. And so I'd have to put one on hold before then they sold out. I love that. That was actually really fun. I like all the different color controllers and stuff. That's why my Joy-Cons are the neon yellow.
I just had my regular black controller for the PS3. That suited me just fine. Thank you very much.
Another thing I loved about PS3, you put your music on it. Oh, my guilty pleasure was, so you could take CDs, you put them in the PS3, and you just rip the whole CD onto the hard drive. So I had multiple albums on my PS3, and then some of the games you could shut the music off, play the music from the PS3 music player, and have your own soundtrack. So the racing games, so I loved Ridge Racer Unbounded for whatever reason. And I just remember playing like New Order while racing in those stages. I was like, this is like perfection.
I hope you will excuse me jumping in here because this was on the 360 for me. The 360 also had this ability.
Yep, right? I did the same thing there.
But with the 360, it was actually like an OS level thing. Like, you didn't have to have the games have that as part of what was going on. Like, you could just, I think the 360, whether or not the developer of a particular game lets you do custom soundtracks, the 360 would let you override that. But I remember also, it bums me out that like newer consoles don't have this. Even like ports of games that supported that on the 360 and PS3 don't have that in newer versions, like Burnout Paradise, for example.
It's strange because it's like, I know, even though I refuse to use it, like I think you can use Spotify on like a PS4. So it's like there's the capability to listen to external music. So it's like, why not just let people pipe in whatever they want?
Yeah.
Especially for something inconsequential. Like a racing game, the soundtrack doesn't matter.
Well, it's a perfect fit for a racing game too, because like, look, I'm not a car guy, but I understand that a lot of people in cars will often play music while they're driving.
Give me the aux cord.
So there's a natural fit there between custom music and a racing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but man, that was an awesome feature. There was other stuff like you could import images and like do your own backgrounds if you wanted. I think I did that more on my PSP, not necessarily on the PS3. But like the PS3 was fascinating because it desperately wanted to just be a computer. Like you could hook a printer up to it and all this other crap. And I think the Fed, I can't remember which agency in the government it was, but one of the U.S.'s defense agencies had taken like 30 PS3s and interconnected them for the computing power for something. Mm-hmm. Like that console was pretty badass in terms of its power.
It was also the PS3 that like you couldn't export to like Iran or something.
Oh, I don't know.
There was some video game console that like couldn't be sold somewhere in the Middle East because the chips in it could be like repurposed for use in like missile guiding
Guided
systems
missiles.
or something.
Weapons
Oh,
manufacturing.
But yeah, this was even like this ended up actually being, ironically enough, kind of an angle that Xbox took with the Xbox One originally, of like this all-purpose living room machine, not just a game console. But this is like a tagline for the PS3 too, right? It was like, it does everything, I think, was like kind of a launch tagline for it.
I still watch Netflix on my PS3. Even with the PS4 hooked up, I'd still default to the PS3 to watch Netflix.
Huh.
And I'm talking within the past year.
So Netflix aside, what do you think is the most recent game you've played on the PS3? Because it's like, there hasn't been a new game on the PS3 in like 5 years or something.
I actually downloaded a game within the past year. It was it might be Codemasters. It's a top-down racer that's like Micro Machines. I'm forgetting what it's called. Oh, okay. I had a hell of a time getting it too, because you cannot fund your wallet on a PS3 anymore. And so I was trying to figure out, why isn't it letting me use my card? It's telling me the game is here and I can buy it, but it won't let me put the money. So I had to
You go to their website?
I think I went on the website. I figured out how to do it, but I eventually downloaded the game, and it was super fun. I wish I could remember what it was called, but...
What prompted you to get this game?
I think they were announcing that they were shutting down the PlayStation Store on PS3. This is before they decided to not do it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I need to see what games are on PSN that I still want to play. And so I have a pretty good collection of PSN games just from over the years, but there's still some stragglers that I hadn't bought.
Yeah.
I don't remember why this game came onto my radar, but I was watching YouTube videos of it that night, and I was just like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And then like I said, I think it was Codemasters. It was somebody like that that's good at racing games. And I was like, okay, I want to try it. And that's how I ended up getting that. So it's been pretty recent. And then there's other stuff. I have PlayStation 3 games that I still haven't beaten. So I have a log of stuff I need to play. And one thing I need to do is take probably every game, put it in the system, and update. And make sure everything's updated before I can't at some point.
How big is your hard drive on your PS3 if you can hold installs and updates for every single game that you own?
I don't know. The PS3 that I have, it's the super slim now. So I have the grand piano, and then I have the slim that I gave Angela. And then my girlfriend, it's complicated, but it ended up where she got a super slim, and then I ended up getting one too from GameStop. So it was used. And for the life of me, I can't remember what the storage is. It might be 500 gigs, which is, for the PS3, that was a lot of storage because, you could put, the updates weren't as big as they are now.
Yeah.
Even the games weren't as big as they are now.
Last summer, before Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I wanted to play as much of the original Final Fantasy VII as I could. So, as recently as last summer, I was playing the heck out of my PS3 because I was playing Final Fantasy VII. And it was fine. It was a perfectly fine experience. And plus I got to experience a classic. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. For me, my original PS3 died circa 2017, 2018 maybe, in the middle of replaying Dark Souls. And I think, Angela, you might remember this. I
was actually just about to say, I don't remember this. What happened?
I was in Blighttown, and the system just crapped out, and I couldn't get it to turn back on. I ended up eventually getting Super Slim to replace, because I had one of the original grill models.
Oh.
And then I ended up, you might remember, I played Dark Souls on your system after mine broke.
Yeah, man, I have some shades of this in my memory, but I don't totally remember this.
Well, that's fine. But I've actually ended up, in the past few years, I've ended up revisiting a lot of 360 PS3 era games that I say revisiting, but I mean going back and playing games that I had let pass me by in the first place. I played after I bounced off the 2018 God of War, or after my DualShock 4 bounced off my phone screen, I actually went and played the original series, including God of War 3 on PS3. So that was only a couple years ago, and also when I played through the Yakuza series, that was on PS3. So it's like, I don't know, it's held up. I've played with RCPS3, also the PlayStation 3 emulator for Windows, which actually holds up pretty well. But so does the PS3 itself. So I think it's a good little system.
Yeah, something about Sony's consoles always felt more like kind of cutting edge than everybody else's. Like the GameCube was pretty cool, but GameCube did have this almost toy-like quality to it. I mean, it's shaped like a little cube, so how could it not? But like the PS2, like that thing felt super fancy, and especially when the slim model came out. And then when the PS3 came out, like it could do all these different things, and then it had like the high def capabilities and all that. And
well, this is part of why the PS3's appearance got mocked, is because it didn't look like the kind of sleek home electronics video equipment that they had been going for.
Yeah, I mean, well, especially if you can compare it to the PS2, like the little tiny thing that was. The PS2's smaller than even a Wii. But even as the big ass grand piano, it had the beautiful shiny, black glossy surface, and then the touch buttons, which their cheap asses got rid of for the slim model. Those buttons are cool. You would just pass your finger over them and it would eject or turn on.
Call me old-fashioned, but I prefer a button I can press.
Well, it's more dependable, and that's what the slim model has. I ended up getting another slim. I had given Angela mine, and I didn't replace it. And then I got the super slim, but then I have a friend, and his neighbors across the street had taken, with no cords, they had taken a PS3 slim that they had and just basically put it on the sidewalk, giving it away. And so he went and he grabbed it and he was like, "Do you want this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure I can find the cords, and Lord knows I have the controllers. So yeah, give it to me." It's like, you can find an HDMI cable anywhere. I just need to get the power cord. I still have not hooked it up to make sure it works, but...
How long ago was this that you've been sitting on this potential brick?
Probably half a year.
Okay.
But yeah, Sony, I don't know, like the PS4 is cool, and I don't have a PS5 yet, but the PS3 360 era feels like it was the end of something. I just don't really know what it was.
I feel like we ended up talking about this a bit in the Okami episode, and I kind of agree with where we landed in the Okami episode, was that the PS2 era kind of felt like the end of things.
PS2 was like kind of the end of the simplicity of old school gaming. I mean, it was pretty... I mean, you didn't have to update anything. You just threw a game into the system, and yes, there was a dashboard, but for the most part, you put a game in and you turned it on.
Yeah, and of course, like every generation to the next, there are going to be changes. Even within a generation, there are going to be changes. But to me, I think PS2 to PS3 feels like a much bigger shift than PS3 to PS4.
I think I just have nostalgia for it because, like, that was a big era in terms of playing with my friends. Like, I haven't played with anybody since the PS3 360 era. Like, that was when I would be online playing Call of Duty. But again, the multiplayer stuff was mostly 360. But PS3, I don't know what it is. Like, it just... I think Greg Miller is the one I remember saying this. One of the journalists, the gaming journalist, was talking about having a PSP, and that he had it with him on like a flight, and that everybody kept looking at it and was asking, like, what is that? With the big ass screen and everything. Now, like, your phone is 1,000 times more advanced than that system ever was, and that kind of awe towards the technology just isn't the same anymore, because it's just so, like, it's everywhere. It's like everyone has these little flat screen phones, and like the PS3 felt like it wowed me in terms of just feeling like the cutting edge of gaming. And then you get to PS4 and like some of the effect has been diminished. I don't know what it is. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's more powerful than the PS3, but like even the PS5, I feel the same way. It's like, this does not impress me as much as like when the 360 and the PS3 were entering my life.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. I feel like there's different changes that have been made. I remember some of it is less impressive on the surface. Like PS4 games do look better than PS3 games, but it's not as big of a jump as PS2 to PS3. I remember when Bloodborne came out, and people were remarking on like there was just so much more clutter in the environment, and it seemed like it was just like, well, they can render more things to make the environment cluttered, so they're going to do that. Obviously, open worlds got bigger, and like now in the PS5 era, loading times are shrinking because of the solid state drives, and I don't know, those aren't the same kind of wow factor as the graphics. And if you're talking about like the electronics or the user experience on its own, I think that stuff is getting slicker. I don't know. I think part of it might just be nostalgia or the age we encounter these things that affects how we feel about it.
I knew there was a game. I was like, there was a PS3 game that I know I played a fair amount of, and I couldn't remember what it was. It was Mortal Kombat. My ex's brother, because I was like, let me make sure this is the right system, because I couldn't remember which one it was. And I'm pretty positive it was Mortal Kombat, which came out in 2011. I think it was just called Mortal Kombat. I hadn't played a Mortal Kombat game since, I think we have it on the Super Nintendo. And so, quite a jump in terms of gameplay and graphics and explicit gore and all that. But I remember I just picked it up really easily. I tend to pick up fighting games pretty easily in terms of like learning the mechanics. But man, we played that one summer. I just remember we were playing that for hours, and like it was the three of us and my ex and his brother, and just played so much of that game. I'm not even necessarily like a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I just remember it was incredibly fun. And my ex wasn't very good at it. And so oftentimes it came down to like me and his brother going against each other. But yeah, just like PS3 had a lot of interesting games. It had, your kind of typical, AAA titles like I think LA Noire was on that, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. But then it also had like strange games or interesting games like Little Big Planet. I think I've come to appreciate it much more many years later, but a lot of really good games on that console, even if it initially launched maybe 3 times too large in terms of size and weight
and price.
Yeah.
And then somehow jogged in my mind my disappointment with the PS3 era, like as a Final Fantasy fan.
Mm-hmm,
oh yeah, because that's the whole FF13 era.
That was the dark age. Yeah,
it's funny. That's the first Final Fantasy that I almost beat. Notice I didn't say beat.
Yeah.
I remember playing a ton of Final Fantasy 13 and getting to the big evil Pope head looking thing and just could not get past that boss battle, and that's where I ended.
That's a tough fight.
But so I've played Final Fantasy games, but that was like my first time where like I'm gonna really sit and play this, because I thought Lightning was really cool looking, and then the graphics in Final Fantasy 13, especially for the time, were just like, wow, this is incredible. But all the Final Fantasy diehards hate that game. And so I just kind of laugh because I'm like, well, I don't hate that game. But
I sat and watched Zack play some of it. I couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, how do you design a character to look as cool as Lightning? And she is just an insufferable bitch. Like, I mean, there's just no I guess apparently by the end she developed some redeeming qualities. I was like, no, I don't even care. Like, she's awful. And then, what is it? Snow? Zach, you and I were making fun of this. What is he constantly saying? Is he talking about a hero?
That's what heroes do.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, God.
This vaguely hobo-like outfit. Yeah.
So the outfit's not the problem, right? The voice isn't the problem. Like, Troy Baker's doing what he can with, like, a terrible script. But it is a terrible script. There is bad voice acting in that game.
Yeah.
Vanille.
I was
amazing.
Vanille's an angel. Leave her alone.
No, trash. But then that kid, the kid who's angry at Snow.
Oh, Soybean, what's his name?
God.
Oh,
She calls Soybean.
yeah.
Like, I despised that kid. Like, they were just, and again, I didn't even play this. I'm sitting, because Zack had replayed it recently. And I was like, this game is awful. Like, just everything about it, the characters, the character design, except for lightning. Oh,
What's
my
his name?
God.
Zaz? Is that his name?
Saz
Saz.
is the only sensible character in that cast.
I remember Saz had the little bird in his hair all the time.
Yeah.
And it always made me think of, I had a friend in middle school, and his name was Coyote. And I remember poor Coyote got shit on by a bird. But it was like this oddball bird shit that was like kind of weirdly clear. And I just remember it hit his hair, and he had like kind of, not really a fro, but his hair was kind of long. And it hit. And I remember he was devastated, and after the fact was insisting that it was like rain, even though it was a perfectly clear day. But every time I saw Saz, I'd just think, man, that bird's gonna shit in his hair, so we just like Coyote. Who keeps a bird in there?
That's a good reason not to. But yeah, no, Robert, I'm sorry. Like, you can have like body pillows or shrines to Vanille. Like,
Oh my God.
that's all fine. But like, her voice is.
She could read the dictionary to me with her weird accent. I'd be happy.
It's not one accent, man. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of like quantum Australian accent that kept coming in and out.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, but
I actually thought Fang's character design was really cool.
I wish she had less makeup on.
And her name is Fang, which I just think is really neat. But her voice actress is, I can't really remember a whole lot. I don't remember hating it. I think it was all right.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, but yeah, just like really sad she got stuck in that game.
But yeah, like, so from my perspective, you know, I got really into JRPGs when I'm young. You got like Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior on the NES, like the Final Fantasy games on the Super Nintendo and the PS1. Even the PS2 has Final Fantasy 10 and 12. Great games. And then the PS3 comes out, and what do I get? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Triple set of trash.
They're like, yeah, I mean, you do have like Final Fantasy 14 that did come out toward the end of the PS3 era, but even in that case.
And then, like, I think I was watching Robert play whichever of the two, like, nonsensical Lightning trilogy sequels, whatever.
There's 13-2, and then there's Lightning Returns.
Yeah, and I don't remember which one you were playing.
It's probably 13-2.
I think it was like on the beach, and like her sister Sarah, and they're like watching fireworks, and I don't know, Lightning was like talking really strangely, like she had some weird kind of religious awakening, and I don't know, like even the cover art of those games just looks just boring and just sad.
Is there a Dragon Quest game on PS3?
No, there isn't. It went from 8 on PS2 to 9 on the DS to 10 on the Wii.
Mm-hmm. And then what was 11 on PS4?
PS4 and everything else now.
Yeah, it's on Switch as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, no Dragon Quest on there. I'm trying to think of the notable games. You know, Sony had like some good compilations. Like there's the Ratchet and Clank trilogy from PS2. There's the Sly Cooper games, Jak and Daxter. But then there's standalone entries. So like there's a bunch of Ratchet and Clank games on PS3, and those are good. I have not played the fourth Sly Cooper, but that's supposed to be a good installment.
I didn't even know there was a fourth one.
God of War 3 is on PS3.
So is Ascension.
Yeah. Then you got...
Didn't they port... Did they
you
port the Vita ones to PS3?
It wasn't Vita, it was PSP, but you can play,
PSP.
You can play 1, 2, Chains of Olympus, Ghost of Sparta, 3, and Ascension all on the PS3.
Mm-hmm.
The Killzone games are on there, but they don't interest me.
It's Killzone, and what was the other one that nobody cared about? Resistance?
Isn't that on PS4?
I think
it's like Killzone 2 and 3 are on PS3. The first Killzone's on PS2, right?
Probably. I think Resistance
right,
also has a number of different entries also.
The Little Big Planet series debuted on PS3, and Little Big Planet 1 and 2 are really good. I think 3 is also on PS3, if I'm remembering correctly. That was one of those like end of the life cycle games where I think it's on PS3 and PS4.
I'm not sure. They only fooled me the once.
Yeah, those are good. I remember wanting Little Big Planet because of the outfits you could get them. Because you could make him Spidey, you could make him Snake, you could make him all these different characters. So I downloaded all those. That was awesome. But what else is on PS3 that's notable?
50 Cent Blood in the Sand.
Total GameStop bargain bin
Which is
game.
actually a game I've always been curious about. There's two 50 Cent games.
Yeah, doesn't it have a cult following?
The second one, Blood in the Sand, where I think he's in like Iraq or something.
Well, there's that.
That one's actually supposed to be good though.
There's also the like Smash Bros. Ripoff.
Oh yeah, PlayStation All Stars. That is actually not bad, but it's definitely not as good as Smash Bros. The Uncharted games, those are all really good. I think the three of them are really good. I think I might have liked the second more than the third one. Other compilations, you had the Kingdom Hearts, basically series that you could play on there. The Metal Gear games. There was the Metal Gear compilation. There's like 2 compilations that you can get of Metal Gear. It's like there's... I'm going to blank on the names, but like you can basically get all of the games 2 different ways. There's like the complete collection and the something else collection or whatever. Man, what else was there? Oh, there was the Vanillaware games that came out, like Dragon's Crown, I think it's called.
I don't know if Dragon's Crown is on PS3.
Dragon's
Maybe it is.
Dogma? Was that one?
No, that's a
PS3?
different game. That's a Capcom game, I think.
No, I was saying, was Dragon's Dogma on the PS3?
Yeah,
I
it
believe
was.
so.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Dragon's Crown was on PS3 because it was also on Vita. It was like
I remember it being
cross-save.
on handheld, but okay, all right, yeah. I didn't try that. I did try Odin Sphere and not liking that at all. That's my review of Odin Sphere.
I see. Red Dead Redemption. Of course, some of these are cross-platform. Like Red Dead's also on 360, but
Like Dead Space is also on 360.
It's weird that Red Dead is still stuck on PS3 and 360.
they didn't.
It's never come out on PS3. It's never been ported to newer consoles. You can play it back.
You mean PS4? Or
Oh yeah, you can't play it on PS4 or Xbox. You can play it on
sure?
Xbox One, but only like backwards compat for Red Dead Redemption.
Really? I could have swore there was an updated version of the original.
I don't think so.
Okay. Man, I remember. So the PS3 era was the Mass Effect era. Those games are huge.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember if I've told this story for the podcast or not, but I play tested Mass Effect 3. And I remember going in, and all my friends liked that game. I didn't care. I was like, I just, for whatever reason, it hadn't caught my attention. But I went to go do the playtest, and boom, there goes on all the monitors, it said Mass Effect 3. And so you had to, sign these NDAs. You couldn't talk about certain things in the playtest. And so I had been talking to a friend, and I told him I played Mass Effect 3, but I was like, I can't tell you anything about what I saw.
Why did you tell him that?
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you couldn't even tell him that.
Why would you do that to yourself?
You can. I didn't care about the NDA. Regardless, I said what I played, but I refused to tell him, what I saw. But I thought I was safe. I just said, I played the game and some of the multiplayer. And he was like, "You played multiplayer?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "There's multiplayer in Mass Effect 3. I'm like, "Well, doesn't everybody know that?" And he's like, they've been teasing it for like a year. And I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Don't tell anyone I told you that." But yeah, that was I don't know, that felt like there were all these like, I guess the big difference in the PS3 era and Xbox 360 era was that like the multiplayer gaming was almost exclusively Call of Duty. Like, that's what everybody was getting online to play against each other. Whereas now, it's like there's all these different, series like Overwatch and Fortnite and whatever. And those are so, like, dominant now. But, like, back in the, like, PS3, Xbox 360 era, it's like there were all these, like, AAA games that were just out. It's like you had the Mass Effect games, you had the Dead Space games. And, like, there were all these different things that my friends would talk about. And it's like the circle just seems to keep shrinking in terms of what's being developed. And it felt like there was a lot more to play during the PS3 era. Not necessarily all of it was great, but just like the variety seemed larger.
I think there's, objectively speaking, way more to play now.
I don't know. I mean, those new games count, like these arena-based, shooters and whatever. I don't know. It's just a different time.
There are more games available on Steam than there are coins in Scrooge McDuck's money bin.
You to Steam. You.
I'm just saying, like, there's an
So you're gonna get a
immense
Steam Dock?
Steam Deck.
Deck? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a Steam Deck.
When are you gonna get one? Can I borrow it?
No, I don't think I'd trust you with it.
How dare
You greasy hot dog hands.
My girlfriend is getting the whatever the most luxurious one is.
Why?
Because she can, I guess.
No, she can't.
She should be ashamed of herself.
Okay. She should know better. Before you break another NDA, should we maybe wrap up?
Oh.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
That story was a work of fiction, by the way. Take that, EA.
In fact, there is no Mass Effect 3.
That's right.
Never happened. Well-regarded
East Asia has always been
duology.
at war with, or whatever it was, the 1984 thing. East Asia has always been at war with such and such. Oceania, that's what I was thinking of.
We are, I think, about ready to wrap up. But if anyone has any other things they want to say about 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, no.
No.
PS3 was cool.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Pretty cool.
I'm hooking mine up again tonight.
I will not stop you, but maybe don't set out to update every single game you own and install them all on your 500 gigabyte hard drive. I think
Slowly
they're
but surely. It'll happen.
better uses of your time. And I don't want the play-by-play next time we record. This has been 7 minutes. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye.